Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DETAUX, Designers Talk UX. Conrad Hall once said, "You're always a student, never a master. You have to keep on moving forward." Today, we have Siddharth with us, who moved from engineering physics to UX design by continuously improving through the criticism he received, and is here to share his story with us. Hey, Siddharth, how are you doing today? Welcome to DETAUX.
Hi, good evening. Doing just
Good
fine.
evening. Doing just fine. How's it going working from home?
Good. It has its positives as well as the lesser positives, but
I
overall
know.
it's nice.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So I was amazed to hear about your story where you moved from engineering physics to UX design, and now you're working as a lead UX designer at Fractal Ink, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it'll like a must listen for all our viewers, and I thought it'll be great to have your story being focused and being shared by you on this platform. So please go ahead, tell us, how did you move from engineering physics to UX design?
Yeah, sure. I before I begin, I would still just say I'm still a student of the entire UX design career, which and if my journey so far can just help out anyone, that would be a good positive. But yeah, it's in no way an ideal story or any inspirational thing to be say something like that. But yeah, as far as transitions go, there have been people who have worked in different jobs and then moved to UX. Uh, Fortunately, I've not been that way for me because I was still in college when I was recruited out of it. But yeah, to say of sorts, I was well on my way to become an engineer, almost there.
Okay.
And it was the placement time, and I was sitting for an engineering job. I was applying for to an engineering company, and fortunately they saw my internships and some of my interests, that he likes to do graphic design. He has a keen understanding. He has a logical thinking insight into problem solving skills and those kind of things. So they gave a chance, and yeah, I didn't look back then. The first one was a really good experience because they were a big company, and they had started a sort of a startup within their own company, mobility apps, mobile apps department, and they needed a UX architect. There was a lot of opportunities to learn there. We and I was also lucky to have a good mentor. They had an in-house design team, and the mentors there I had who taught me on my first job. They taught me really interesting things. At times they were also harsh, but uh, I came to realize that it was all for my benefit actually.
So you talked about that you were on your way to become an engineer, right? And you were applying for jobs. So how did you discover, first of all, like UX design, and then how did you start applying that? Okay, I should apply, and even when you applied for it, right? How were you evaluated? Because you were on your way to being an engineer, so your skills, how did they match with them?
Yeah, this is again not an ideal story, not how things happen. Actually, it just happened. So it might happen a different way for everyone. But as I said, I was sitting for an engineering job as a data analyst, or whatever they come for in a college. But the recruiters, they saw that I had a couple of internships doing graphic design, which also included a little bit of content writing and a little bit of UI design, just a pinch of it. UI design was not even a percent of my portfolio at the time,
Right.
and even if someone had done a couple of UIs, that is leaps and bounds ahead of any UX designer, because no one had actually ever done that 5 or 6 years ago, or people were just starting to do that.
Right.
So they thought that we might be getting an artist from an engineering college, or someone who has an instinct about pixel perfect designs, who thinks about things in a designer sort of way, but also has an engineering background. So probably that is why they thought of giving me a chance, because mobile apps, designing apps and digital products is just as much about logical thinking, reasoning, making designs that obey the laws of physics, as much as it is about aesthetic, beautifying designs, and those kind of things. So yeah, I still remember they told me that yeah, you have a combination of left and right brain. So that is something we would like to harness. Something we'd like to have in our team. Yeah,
Right.
it's a journey. It's just an example, no role model so far.
I think everyone is a can be a role model. Even our peers, we keep on learning from them, right? So everyone can be, even the smallest trigger that can take you to where you want to be. I think that serves as a role model, right? So
Yeah.
you mentioned that okay, even without a portfolio. So what would you want to say to people who are trying into get into UX design, right? You mentioned that you did not have anything in your portfolio major, which kind of would have helped in terms of UI design, and where I mean we've reached so far from there. So how should people approach companies if they think they don't have a great portfolio, or how do you approach companies with your own portfolio?
See, one thing is that things like the thing that happened with me, the way the selection process happened. Uh, what There were a couple of things. What happens is that if you're interested in something, I've always been interested in graphic design. I've always been interested in doing that kind of work. So even without knowing, I had a small portfolio of sorts. I didn't know that you have to make a portfolio to be a good graphic designer, but
Right.
I've been doing internships. I've been doing things in college. I've been doing things before that also. So even without knowing, I had built a body of work, kind of a portfolio of sorts. So if they interviewed me once and find out about it, and they just asked me to collaborate it in a place and show it to them so that they can see the work actually. And to anyone who is trying to enter into the industry, who is trying to be someone, having a portfolio will help. It's not just about the body of work that you've created; it's the experience that you've gained from different projects. I, for one, have learned a lot on the job. Didn't start with an a design degree. So yeah,
Awesome, awesome. So you mentioned about having the right mentor also in your first startup, right?
yeah. It was my first company. Wasn't a startup, but they had a new business unit
Okay.
within their own company. I was lucky enough to be placed in the same design room as them, same room, and initially I would just get whatever work they were doing. They would just give it to me. You do the same thing. Later on, we'll compare works. Don't think. And uh, Yes, I would say that the more criticism I got, the better I got. So get as much criticism as you can and get it as fast as you can.
Can you elaborate a little more on like how do you handle criticism as a designer, and how did you help? And how did it help you grow as a
Yeah,
designer?
yeah. Two things that come with it is a self-realization, which comes over time, which I'll talk about after this. But another is that you need to consider yourself as a student first of any field that you're in. You're a student of the field, no matter how long you've been in it. So criticism, no matter if it is constructive from the other end, even if it is not for your benefit, someone criticizes you for just for the sake of putting you down, you still take it as something that would help you. It's as a point that someone can use to mm, display something that you're not good at. So every time you get criticism, I think it's kind of uh, a pointing out that this is a weak spot of yours and you can work on it.
Right. So I am sure we've always thought of the same thing whenever we've looked at our designs again, looking back and then realizing, well, did I really design like this earlier, right? So, but that's what progress stands for, and then uh, you realize that you've grown as a designer, right? And you realize that okay, you have come a long way from where you have been. So I think that helps you as grow as a designer and learn new things, which is I think always there.
Yeah.
Right, right. So in terms of your say transition, like from, so you mentioned that okay, you got into the right position at the right time, right? So but in the longer run, why did you think that the UX design career is the right career for you, because you were learning something else altogether,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
So or did you still think of that okay, UX design is not something that I wanted to do later on? How did you realize that?
no, firstly, as soon as the company that hired me, soon as they came, they gave me an option that, see, you're intelligent enough to be a data analyst. We will offer you that also, but there is some other position that we have, and would you be willing to take it up? And as soon as I heard it's a design role, I was happy, and I agreed to it without giving it a second thought. But also, yes, it was a matter of being in the right, sitting in the right placement, at the right time.
Right time.
There could be another engineer just as creative, even more creative than me, who sat in that interview and would be there. But I've been doing this for the over the last 5 years, and you have caught in. You've got a good way in, but staying in is just as important. And that comes with the more work you do, the more humble you are in your approach, and the more open you are to learn.
Right, right, right. Great, great. Listening to your story is just refresher for me as well. I mean, it has happened to me a lot of times that uh, opportunities have come, and if you're just sitting at the right spot at the right moment, you just have to grab that opportunity and then see that if you are really meant for it or not. Awesome to hear that. And any last words from you, Siddharth, for the viewers who are listening to you? And anything about that, how can you transition from X to UX?
Being there at the right moment at the right time is important. But once you're in, staying in with the same confidence, with the same zeal, with the same approach, and with the same can-do attitude towards it is just as important. I've seen people who are 25 years old but are bored of their job. They wait Monday to Thursday for Friday, and I tell them that if you have to wait for Friday or every day, then you should probably think about what you're doing from Monday to Thursday. And if it's a job that you like, if it's a job that you think that you can do good at, you will always have the zeal to explore new things, to be a student. And as I said, I've seen 55-year-old people in their job with such enthusiasm, just because they know that there is still a complete world of things that they still have to learn. And that's what it that's how I think we should be, always ready to learn. As a UX designer, I would say, see, all the different courses, even there is a course at designers which I'm studying, which I'm teaching, and there is one which I've studied before. All of them will have same curriculums, a similar approach, a design thinking process which we teach, how to conduct interviews. But overall, as a UX designer, I would say there is a one thumb rule that I always go by: uh, trust those who seek the truth, but doubt those who say they have found it.
Whoa.
And that works.
Those are some golden words. Awesome. So, how has your experience been as a mentor at Designers Academy?
So far, it's been really good, and I think it's going to be just as rewarding for me as for any student in it. Uh, I see some great potential, some people asking some amazing questions, and it reminds me of the time when I used to ask those questions. And those are really important questions, and I'll try to answer them as nicely as I can. And I'd like to have some people, have some really interested people carry on the work in this field. And if some of those come from the batch that I'm working with, that would be an honor. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining in. I
Yeah.
hope this helps a lot of people who are listening to you and they get inspired. Despite you being saying that I'm not a role model, I think you are. And that's what matters. And I love the way you are really humble in accepting that. and I hope we connect again for more conversations in future.
Yeah, sure. I look forward to it as well.
We
If we
look
talk
forward.
again, we'll probably find out the journeys we've been after we talk once, and that will be
Yes,
also a nice experience.
I hope we have more conversations like that. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, thanks.
So, guys, that's it for today. We hope you liked the X2UX story. If you'd like to see more videos, please consider subscribing. Bye bye. Take care.